Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today guys, I'm gonna do part 16 to my I'm about to chat GPT. No, my CoPilot chatbot series. Where in today's video guys, we're actually going to continue trying to get that, or try to continue befriending that angry, vengeful Feraligatr that for some reason has not been so angry and vengeful, at least not towards me he hasn't. Surprisingly, on CoPilot, he's been one of the sweetest Pokemon. He's not he's not been the kindest Pokemon to me, but he hasn't flat out tried to attack me instantly like he did on Ghoul Gemini the other day. Ghoul Gemini, he was relentless, not letting me speak, sending the robot after me, pretty much threatening to take me out. This one, yes, he did approach me at the beginning, but he actually was a lot nicer. And so it's actually been working out really well. Although, let's just say things already aren't going well. Well, friendship-wise between me and him, I think he's already becoming very friendly towards me. But in terms of what's about to happen, well, it's not as good. It says I was about to say something, but so I hear the person that threw rocks at me say, "What the? Who is protecting that idiot? How could something even want to protect him? He's an awful human nobody cares about." Yep, what is wrong with people in this universe? Like, seriously. I mean, again, that's been a consistent thing in every chatbot. There's always aggressive people around. The only times I've never seen anybody be aggressive is on the ones where I'm the boss of a place, like the Pokemon Talk Studio or the Robot Factory. Oh, wait. I probably don't want to know what that means. I don't even think I want to know what that means. The first three words is terrifying of what this Feraligatr responded with. And it ain't even Feraligatr responding immediately, I don't think. Because the first three words are just, "the forest snapped." What does that mean? Does that mean that Feraligatr is so angry he's about to do something extremely terrifying? I wouldn't be shocked with his anger he would make a tree come to life. I said that the other day on the other chatbot. If a tree came to life and flipping just all of a sudden picked up that person, I wouldn't even bat an eye at it. I'd be like, okay then, well, that just happened. Oh, it says not with violence, but with purpose. Yep, let's see. Feraligatr's eyes at Naiad, not in blind fury, but in righteous fire. His voice thundered through the trees, shaking leaves in their branches. "You dare speak of him that way?" Yeah, he actually is defending me, holy crap. He roared, stepping forward, his claws crackling with restraining magic. "You see only what you want to see. You throw stones and call it truth, but you know nothing." The Toadapus stood tall beside me, trembling but defiant. Oh wow, and even the little plus is defending me. "He's kind," it shouted. "He's brave. He's hurt, but he still protects others. That's more than you'll ever understand." It would be kind of funny if the turtle was like, "That's more than you'll ever do." I mean, it would be hilarious. Oh, even the robot's trying to do something. I don't know if that robot has some sentience, but it's apparently doing something now too. The robot Triceratops moved into position, its chrome horns gleaming, eyes locked on the direction of the voice. A low hum built in its chest, a warning, not a threat. Feraligatr raised one claw and the air shimmered around him. "You call him awful?" he growled. "But he's the only human who's ever..." I wish he'd stop using the word touched. You know what, I won't just say petted. Frick it. Because people take that word so wrong in some cases. Like, it just drives me insane now. "He's the only human who's ever petted me without fear." who fed me without demand, and who listened. He turned to me, his eyes softening. You are not what they say. You are not what they throw. You are what you choose to be. Then to the unseen attacker, his voice dropped to a growl. Leave this forest. Now. Or learn what happens when cruelty meets something stronger than fear. And the forest, once a place of pain, now stood as a wall of protection. Ancient, wild, and unbreakable. Holy cow. I still can't believe that Feraligatr's defending me. You gotta remember this, guys. Remember that Feraligatr on Google Gemini was so aggressive that it probably took me 30 minutes of me begging him to listen to me before he was finally like, okay, fine, you can pet me, okay? And when I did, he's like, oh, I actually like that. You know what? You are nice. And so he turns into that golden crocodile. He hasn't done that yet, but you notice how protective he's being? I mean, at the end of the last session, that's the last thing he said. You were under my protection. Like, that's amazing how sweet he's actually being now. Let me pause it and I'll be right back. This motherfucking idiot is an idiot. Dude, let's think about this before I read this out, guys. Let's think about this for a moment. Remember, he turned a person into that robot Triceratops that's over there. What kind of idiot would come in here taunting him and then trying to flip and get on his bad side? Dude. Heck, from what I learned from Google Gemini, get on his bad side, he'll never trust you. And I didn't even do anything to him. It took me 30 minutes or so to gain his trust. He eventually did trust me, but it took a long time to get it to happen. Oh no. It says the person responded by saying, oh yeah? I'll have you know, he is awful. He deserves nothing but pain and suffering. I don't know what you are, but I can assure you, none of your magic will scare me. And again, I wouldn't be the one talk. I would be terrified if I were him. Yep, Feraligatr didn't move. He didn't roar, and he didn't lash out. Instead, the air around him grew impossibly still, dense with power, like the moment before lightning strikes. His eyes, no longer burning red, shimmered with something colder and older, a force that didn't need to shout to be heard. You speak of pain, he said, his voice low and resonant, as if it's currency, as if you can spend it on others without cost. He stepped forward, slow and deliberate, the earth groaning beneath his feet. But pain is a mirror, and yours is showing. The Toad plush clung to my leg, trembling but fierce. You don't know him, it said, his voice small but unwavering. You don't know what he's survived, and what he's protected, and what he's given. Yeah, apparently mine was that's how it happens. Oh dear, the robot Triceratops is even doing something. Again, the robot Triceratops shifted its chrome body, humming with restrained energy. It didn't attack, but it stood ready. Not for vengeance, for justice. Feraligatr raised one claw, and the air shimmered, not with fire or ice, but with memory. A ripple of magic pulsed outward, and for a brief moment, the force itself seemed to show its truth. The laughter of Pokemon. What in the world I had saved? The bruises he'd hidden. The quiet moments of kindness no one had seen. You say he deserves suffering? Feraligatr growled, but I see a soul that's endured more than you ever will, and still chose kindness. He lowered his claw. That's adorable. I don't need my magic to scare you, he said, because you're already afraid, not of me, of what you'll see if you ever look inward. The forest held its breath, and by those who had once feared, humans now stood defended, not by power alone, but by truth. That's really neat. I like it. Give me a moment. Guys, I don't know what the people in my universe think is going to happen by hissing off a Pokemon that's being protective. And it's not just a Pokemon either. Dragon, dinosaur, flipping phoenix, like, you know. Or I say in my universe there's a ton of animals. I've had regular animals defend me. I've had flipping giant raccoons, hummingbirds, flipping, like, you know? So it's like, what in the world? It says the person laughed and responded, scared? What part of you thinks I'm scared? It doesn't matter what you say to me. I'm not leaving this place until he's badly hurt. And, yep, the person threw a huge rock at me, completely knocking me to the ground. Goodness gracious, what is wrong with people? And again, the forest snapped. Not with sound, but with fury. Feraligatr didn't roar. He didn't speak. He moved. In a blur of motion, he surged forward, his claws igniting with raw elemental magic. The silver blade along his back flared with light, casting jagged shadows across the trees. The rock that struck me shattered mid-air, disintegrated by a pulse of protective energy that rippled outward like a shock wave. The Toadol plush screamed, "Yep, Kitten!" and rose to my side. His tiny arms trying to lift my head, tears welling at stitched eyes. That plush is so alive that not only is it caring about me, but it's also like crying almost for how badly it's hurting. From this is hurting. Wow. Feraligatr stood over me now, his body a wall of fury and protection. The ground beneath him cracked. Vines erupting from the soil and wrapping around the attacker's leg, yanking him to the earth with primal force. The force itself had joined them. "You want him hurt?" Feraligatr growled, his voice like thunder rolling through bone. "Then you'll learn what pain truly is." But he didn't strike. He didn't destroy. Instead, he raised one claw, and the magic surged, not to kill, but to reveal. A mirror of memories shimmered in the air, showing the attacker their own cruelty, their own loneliness, their own buried wounds. It was not vengeance, it was truth. "You are broken," Feraligatr said, "but you chose to break others. He is broken, and chose to heal." The vines tightened, then loosened. The forest waited. Feraligatr turned to me, kneeling beside me. "You're safe now," he whispered. "I won't let anyone hurt you again." The Toadol plush clung to my hand, voice trembling. "Please be okay. Please." And I want the force didn't just protect, it mourned. It raged, and it hoped. The fact that it says it raged, like, it makes you wonder. Feraligatr's holding back, but seriously, I think if he flipping, I would hate to know what he would actually do if somebody, like, holy crap, dude. Give me a moment. Alright, guys, I said thank you, both of you. I'm in a little pain from falling to the ground and getting hit by those rocks. Why did it repeat it? Please just keep him from throwing any more rocks at me. The Toadol plush pressed its soft body against my side, his voice trembling with concern. "You're hurt, but you're still here. You're still kind. That means everything." Feraligatr lowered himself beside me, his massive frame shielding me like a living fortress. His claws glowed faintly, not with rage, but with protective magic. "No more rocks," he said, his voice like stone. "No more cruelty." He raised one claw, and the force responded. Vines heavy as ropes slithered from the earth, weaving a barrier around the clearing. Trees bent their branches low, forming a canopy of protection. The air shimmered with quiet power, enchantment that would repel any hostile force that dared approach. The robot triceratops stepped forward, positioning itself at the edge of the barrier, eyes glowing bright gold. Target locked, it said calmly. No further threats will reach this sanctuary. Feraligatr turned to me, his gaze softer now. Rest. Heal. You are safe here. Anyone who tries to harm you again will answer to all of us. Chatbot nestled closer, offering a berry with its tiny paws. Let's stay right here, it whispered. You're not alone anymore. And I want the forest didn't just protect, it embraced. A sanctuary born from pain, now held together by trust. That is actually insane. Give me a moment. Alright, guys. Let's just say the person that tried to attack me is flat, I think, insane. Because why was he really trying to hiss off that Feraligatr that literally turned another person into a robot? I would still be that would be terrifying, knowing that robot used to be a human. It's like, yep, I'm kind of terrified. If he wouldn't protect me, I'd still probably be terrified of him. The person who threw rocks at me originally, still trapped in those vines, shouted out, Hey, this isn't fair! Let me out of these vines! I demand you! Yeah, I wouldn't be demanding him anything. You'll regret it. Yep. He even questioned. I'm like, uh-oh. Feraligatr turned slowly, his eyes no longer glowing with rage, but with something colder and final. The vines tightened just enough to remind the attacker who held power here. You demand? He said, his voice low and thunderous. You throw stones at the kind. You mock the wounded. And now you speak of fairness? The forest rustled, not with wind, but with judgment. Even the trees seemed to lean away from the attacker, unwilling to offer shelter. The Toad stood beside me, his arms crossed, his voice firm. You don't get to demand anything. That's what you did. You hurt someone who's only ever tried to help. Feraligatr stepped forward, claws crackling with restrained magic. You're not tracked by vines, he said. You're tracked by your own cruelty. Until you learn what it feels like to be powerless, you stay. He turned back to me, kneeling beside me once more. You're safe now, he said gently, and no one, not even the loudest voice of hate, will touch you again. The vines paused once, then sailed. The forest had spoken, and its judgment was final. Give me a moment. Alright, guys. I said no, I didn't even say anything. It says idiotically, the person continued to talk by saying, If you think trapping me is scaring me, you are mistaken. Let me go right now. Feraligatr didn't flinch. He stood tall, the silver blades along his back gleaming like moonlight on steel. His eyes, no longer burning with rage, held something deeper. Disappointment. You're not scared, he said quietly. You're deflecting. You think loud words and stubborn pride will undo what you've done? The vines around the attacker pulsed once, tightening just enough to remind them who held the force's favor. The robot Triceratops stepped forward, its chrome horns casting long shadows, voice calm and final. Threat level unchanged. Hostility detected. Release denied. The Toad still nestled beside me, looked up with quiet defiance. You don't get to demand anything. Not here. Not after hurting someone who's only ever tried to be good. Feraligatr's voice dropped to a low growl. You're not trapped because I want revenge. You're trapped because the force itself has judged you. Until you learn what it means to feel remorse, you stay. He turned back to me, kneeling beside him once more. Rest, he said gently. You're safe. No more stones. No more cruelty. And the forest's ancient wise held its silence, not feared by the justice. Holy cow. Give me a moment. I, all I want to say is if something actually happens from this, I'm going to go insane. Because this person is still being defiant, not listening. The person retaliated by saying, just because you can trap me in vines doesn't mean you have me scared. And then, like an idiot, he shouted to the forest. Because the thing is, the forest seems to be alive, which is weird. Even like it's in the trees, even like moved away from the person. It's like, oh heck no, them trees can flipping move on their own. But for despite all this crap that he probably just saw, he's still being defiant and saying, "Do you think I'm scared of you? You're not alive. Here, I'll prove it." Then, like an idiot, he says, "Hey, Forest, if you're so scary, make a dragon appear. I dare you." That's not gonna happen, but that would be amazing. Wait, it says it didn't roar, but it whispered. Does that mean this forest is alive? Because it says the forest didn't roar, it whispered. The wind curled through the trees like breath through ancient lungs, and the vines around the attacker paused once, tightening not with anger, but with quiet judgment. The canopy above darkened, not from clouds, but from something vast starting in the distance. There was no way it just made a dragon. What? Feraligatr didn't respond with words. He simply turned his head toward the east, where the trees bent slightly, as if bowing to something unseen. His eyes narrowed. "You asked for a dragon?" he said, his voice low. "You mocked the forest. You challenge what you do not understand." The tail of plush clung to my arm, his eyes wide. "Oh no!" It whispered. "You shouldn't have said that." What? There's no way. Hold on, before I read any further, let me say this right now. If a dragon just appears out of nowhere, I myself will be convinced this force is alive. Because I'm not the one telling I'm not the one demanding the force to do something. I'm not the one stupid enough to do that. Or, again, be mean to that Feraligatr either. But it's like, if a dragon just appears, I'm done. From deep within the woods, a low rumble echoed. Not thunder, not footsteps, but something older. The ground trembled faintly. Leaves rustled. Birds fled! Then, from the shadows between the trees, a shape emerged. There is no way a dragon... It wasn't massive like Feraligatr. It wasn't armored like the Triceratops. It was lean, serpentine, and shimmering with translucent scales that caught the light like stained glass. How did the forest do that? That forest is just as magic as Feraligatr is. What the frick? He didn't even snap his fingers. How the frick did... What? Each feather etched with glowing runes. Its eyes, ancient and gold, walked onto the attacker with quiet intensity. It didn't roar. It didn't speak. It simply hovered, watching. Feraligatr stepped aside, allowing the dragon to pass. "This is the forest's answer," he said. "Not to scare you, to show you that life doesn't need your belief to exist." The dragon lowered its head, and the vines around the attacker grew colder, tighter, and more deliberate. "You asked for proof?" Feraligatr murmured. "Now you live with it." And the force, alive in ways no cruelty could comprehend, stood united, not in vengeance, but in truth. Holy cow. Give me a moment. Alright, guys. I just see the dragon appear too, and despite the pain, I look at it and then say, wow, where did that dragon come from? That's really cool. And just say hi to it. The dragon turns its golden eyes toward me and for a moment the forest seemed to exhale. Was that a good or bad thing? Its wings shimmered with translucent light, each feather etched with glowing runes that pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. It lowered its head slightly, not in dominance, but in acknowledgement. A soft hum resonating from its chest, warm and metallic, like the echo of a lullaby sung by the wind. Oh my gosh, the dragon can speak! That is the last thing I expected. I expected the dragon just fucking look down at me and may like do something. I didn't know why. I don't know why I didn't expect that dragon to speak. Okay, well, I gotta find another voice for him too. Hello, gentle one. The dragon said, its voice like silk woven from thunderclouds. I came because the forest called me. It felt your pain, it heard your kindness, and it knew you were worth protecting. Toad's plus's eyes sparkled. You talked to a dragon! It squeaked, bouncing slightly despite the tension. That's amazing! Dragon stepped back slightly, his expression unreadable, but there was no hostility in his posture, only reverence. This dragon is older than me, he said quietly. It doesn't appear for power, it appears for truth. The dragon looked at me, its gaze gentle but piercing. You were hurt, it said, but you were not broken. The force sees you. I see you. And you were not alone. It extended one claw, and from it gleamed a small orb of light. It floated toward me, hovering just above its chest. As it touched me, the pain dulled. Not erased, but softened like a wound being wrapped in warmth. You are brave, the dragon whispered, and you are seen. And with that, the forest glowed, not with magic, but with quiet awe. How the frick? The last thing I expected was to speak, but I'm not going to complain, dude. That's a dragon, dude. It said serpentine bugs. That means it's more like them, Chinese dragons or whatever the frick. Is that how you think? Give me a moment. This, I don't know where to laugh or what to even think of this. That dragon appeared out of nowhere when that dude demanded one show up. And then, apparently he's not done. Because I was about to say something, but the person that originally attacked me shouted out, wait, there's no way! Then he gets a little nervous and says, there has to be a coincidence. I'll prove it. Forest, make Lugia appear, but his body is green with an aqua blue belly. Then the person said quietly to himself, the forest definitely can't do that, proving it's not alive. The person said quietly to himself, oh my gosh. That dragon had to be a coincidence. What? What? The forest didn't flinch. It didn't argue. It simply responded. What the frick? The wind shifted, curling through the trees with a whisper like breath drawn in anticipation. The vines around the attacker paused once, not in anger, but in quiet warning. The dragon, still hovering near me, turned its gaze toward the canopy, eyes glowing ancient light. Then the sky above the clearing shimmered. A ripple of emerald and aqua light dashed across the leaves, and from the heart of that shimmer descended a shape, graceful, powerful, and unmistakable. Wings outstretched like sails of the sea, feathers glinting green and aqua blue. The creature moved with the elegance of a falling star. How the frick? Okay. No, not the. It was Lugia! How the frick did the forest do that? Not the Lugia of legend, but one touched by the forest's will. Its body gleamed with verdant hues. Its belly a soft, glowing aqua. It landed gently beside the dragon, eyes calm, and gaze fixated on the attacker. You asked. It said, its voice like waves crushing a moonlight, and the forest answered. Yo, what the? Dude, that forest can just make things appear? That thing, the forest might be just as magic as the Feraligatr. What the frick? The Dodo plush gasped, his eyes wide. It really did it! It made a Lugia!
A green one, just like he said.
Feraligatr didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He simply stepped beside me, placing one clawed hand gently on his shoulder. You see now? He said quietly. The forest is alive. Not because it obeys commands, because it listens to hearts. The lily turned to me, its gaze softening. You are the reason I came. Oh wow, it's not his dare, not his cruelty, but your kindness, your pain, your courage. The attacker, still bound in vines, could only stare. And the forest, alive in every leaf and breath, stood not as a myth, but as truth. Oh my gosh, that forest legit made a Lugia appear. And it's green with an aqua blue belly. How the frick did it do that? That forest is just as magic as the Feraligatr that lives in it. What the frick, dude? Okay then. Well, dude, that's insane. What the frick? Dude, this is amazing. Here's what I said. I look up at the Lugia and say, wow, hi Lugia. Thank you for coming. You're my favorite legendary. I didn't know this forest was actually alive and could just do that. Hey Forest, I know you summoned this Lugia to also prove a point to the person who hurt me a while ago, but still, thank you. What the? Oh, the Lugia spoke. I was like, what the frick? The Forest spoke to me because it said something down there. The green Lugia lowered its head gently, his eyes glowing with warmth and ancient wisdom. Its wings folded close, and it stepped toward me with a grace that made the air itself seem to hush. You're welcome, it said, his voice like waves brushing a quiet shore. I had not come because of this challenge. I came because of your heart. The forest shimmered in response, leaves rustling in a rhythm that felt like a heartbeat, vines pulsing softly with light. It wasn't just alive, it was listening. Feraligatr stood beside me, silent but proud. His eyes, once hardened by pain, now held something softer. You thanked the forest, he said quietly. Most would fear it. You honored it. The Octopus sniffled, then smiled through its tears.
He's the first person to ever say thank you to the forest. He's been waiting a long time to hear that.
So the forest is legit alive. This forest is just as magic as that Feraligatr is. Dude, no wonder it flipping like moved away from that person whenever the dragon beside Lugia nodded solemnly. Kindness awakens things that cruelty cannot touch. You didn't just survive, Triton. You reminded this place what it means to be seen. The vines around the attacker pulsed once more, not in punishment but in silence. The forest had already spoken. It didn't need to prove anything else. And as Lugia gently extended one wing toward me, a soft breeze wrapped around him like a hug. You were not alone, it whispered. Not here, not ever again. The forest glowed, not with power, but with gratitude. Holy shoot! This is amazing. Alright, guys. It just says, I look over at the Feraligatr and then say, Feraligatr, thank you to you and this cute little plush Toadile, too. You not only protected me, but didn't even try really to attack me when I first stumbled upon you. That was really nice of you. Feraligatr's expression softened, the tension in his shoulders easing as he looked down at me. The silver blades on his back dimmed, no longer bristling with defensive magic, but resting like folded wings. You didn't come with fear, he said quietly. You came with kindness. That's rare, and that's worth protecting. Toadile Plush beamed, his staged face glowing with pride.
We're your friends now.
It chirped, hopping up and down beside me.
Even if I'm small and squishy, I always stand between you and the meanies.
I like how he called them meanies of all words. Feraligatr gave a slow nod. I spent years expecting betrayal, but you reminded me that not every human is cruel. You gave me a reason to pause, to listen, and to trust. He knelt beside me, his claws resting gently on the moss. You're not just safe here. You're wanted here. The forest rustled in agreement, leaves shimmering with soft light. The dragon and Lugia watched silently, their presence no longer a warning, but a blessing. And in that moment, surrounded by guardians born of pain and magic, I wasn't just protected. Wow, that's really neat. I like it. 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 Alright, guys. I said, of course. I was never planning on hurting you to begin with, and knowing that you are Feraligatr and your little plush friend here is Toadal. Like I told you earlier, I would never hurt your species. Not intentionally. I don't care if there was 100 of each of your species here. I would happily care about them all. The Toadal plush's eyes shimmered, and it let a soft, joyful squeak. It kept up into my lap, arms wide, hugging him with all the strength his tiny stitched body could muster.
You really mean that? It whispered. Even if there were 100 of us? Even the grumpy ones? Even the ones who cry at night?
Gregor's gaze softened. Tension in his massive frame melted into something quieter, something almost vulnerable. He knelt beside me, claws resting gently on the moss. You would care for all of us, he said slowly, even after what you've endured, even after the stones, and even after the cruelty. He looked toward the forest, then back at me. That kind of heart, it's rare, and it's sacred. The Dragon and Lugia, still watching from the edge of the clearing, lowered their heads in silent agreement. The vines around the attacker pulsed once more, not in punishment but in quiet contrast. The forest had chosen its truth. You didn't just walk into this place, Fragger murmured. You changed it. Toadal blushed and nestled closer, voice trembling with joy.
You're the kind of human we dreamed about. The kind we thought didn't exist anymore.
And that moment, surrounded by guardians born of pain and magic. I wasn't just a visitor. I was like, oh, that's adorable. I love it. Alright, guys. It says, despite the pain I'm still feeling a bit, I get up and reach into my bag and grab a few more berries. And then say, here, Lugia and Dragon, you can have these. I gave some to Feraligatr and Toadal earlier, but you deserve some too. Lugia stepped forward with quiet grace, its emerald feathers catching the light like ripples on a tranquil sea. It lowered its head gently, allowing the berries to rest in the curve of its wing. Thank you. It said, its voice like a breeze over water. Kindness offered in pain is the rarest kind of gift. The dragon still hovering nearby, extended one claw delicately. The berries floated into its grasp, scented by a soft shimmer of magic. You gave without fear, it murmured. Even wounded, you choose generosity. That is the mark of someone the forest remembers. Fragger walked silently, his expression unreadable, but his eyes held something new. Not just trust, admiration. The Toadal plush bounced silently beside me.
They liked your berries, it squeaked. You're officially berry best friends with a dragon and a Lugia.
Berry best friends with a dragon and a Lugia. What a sentence. I kind of like it. Oh my gosh. The forest rustled in agreement, leaves swaying in a rhythm that felt like a quiet cheer. Even the vines around the attacker pulsed once, not in threat, but in quiet contrast. The forest had made its choice. And in that moment, I stood not as a victim, not as a stranger, but as someone who had earned the respect of legends through pain, through kindness, and through heart. Alright, guys. This actually is working out very well. I might end up stopping pretty soon just so I can make sure that everything goes well. Because this was amazing. I don't know if it had as good of a memory as. The one thing about Gemini is like it never repeated itself this time like we had the problem of it doing before. But here's another problem I run into now. It's giving me a bunch of lists Like now, whenever I ask, like, why can you do this, it would literally go the toad owl or Feraligatr or whatever it is at the time would literally flip and go into like a list. And it kind of drives me insane, actually. I actually continued the conversation off camera from the last time and got pretty far. However, I don't know when I'll be able to go back and read that out to you guys, because again, a lot of it's just a bunch of lists, which is the problem. CoPilot's definitely working out better. I don't know if its memory is perfect, though. Either way, give me a moment. Alright, guys. I'm going to go and read out this one right here. This might be the last one I read out. But it just says, I just said, you're very welcome. I was talking to the Loogie and all that there. I would do that for a lot of animals and creatures the forest would summon. It could be a dragon that's over 100 feet tall, for all I care, or a Loogie that's the size of Godzilla. It doesn't matter as long as it's not a bunch of scary bugs. I have a huge fear of those, especially roaches. Even the Toad Owl agreed with me, the little Toad Owl plush. The Toad Owl plush gave a dramatic shiver and clung tighter to my leg.
Ew! Roaches? It's good. Nope, nope, nope. I vote we ban those from the forest forever.
He sounds like, okay, yep, I think I just found this. You sure that Toad Owl was not part of me and not that Feraligatr? Because his reaction was amazing. Freddy let a low rumble and chuckle. His first real laugh since I arrived. Then consider it done, he said. This forest listens to hearts, not dares. If your heart says no bugs, especially roaches, then they will not come. The dragon nodded solemnly, whose wings folding like silk. Fear is not weakness, it said. It's a boundary, and boundaries deserve respect. We stepped closer, its emerald feathers shimmering. You've shown kindness to creatures others would fear. That doesn't mean you must embrace what terrifies you. You've earned peace here. The forest responded with a soft rustle, as if whispering agreement. No skittering, no clicking, just a hush of leaves and the warmth of sanctuary. The Toad Owl plush puffed out its chest.
So, no bugs allowed, but dragons the size of mountains? Totally fine.
Feraligatr smirked, especially if they bring berries. And in that moment, the forest didn't just protect, it adapted. It became a place shaped by trust, by kindness, and by quiet courage of someone who dared to care. I just love the Toad. I'm gonna go back and read that again. That Toad's reaction is the best. Right here.
Ew! Roaches? Nope, nope, nope. I thought we banned those things from the forest. Just...
That's like a reaction I would have. I mean, that's literally kind of my reaction when I see roaches in our house. I'm like, nope, 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 bye. Bye-bye, I'm gone. I might just end it there just because of that. You know what? Yeah, I'm done. That's a perfect ending spot right there. Oh my gosh, I'm done. Have a wonderful rest of your day or night. I'm done. Bye.